I just needed to get my Facebook going. I almost forgot that I needed to be live in both places. So I think we're recording in both and we can get started. Good morning to all of you. I hope you're having a wonderful Saturday morning and that you're not freezing wherever you are. I am excited to be back with all of you guys live today. I loved getting to listen to Shelly Nelson as I was sitting on the beach and catching up on my recordings that I had to miss because my timing was off last week. And loved all that she had to share last week on what this book was teaching us, you guys. And just knowing that, like, really passion, because you guys know how passionate I am. And I had to study that chapter a little bit because I'm like, okay, I could be guilty of this. And so I had to make sure that I was learning what I needed to learn out of that. And what I learned is that I think I'm okay because my passion comes out of a purpose that I am passionate about. And not only about my passion, but to the people that I get to do this for and help with and who I'm doing it for. So I hope you guys got something great out of it too, and just, make sure that we're channeling everything in the right way. But today and this week, we're going to get to learn starting on page 51. So if you guys are following along, if you're on the audio, it's follow the Canvas strategy. And I love that this morning my devotion was, the title of it was Believe in Others Like Jesus Believes in You. And for me, you guys, that's who I follow as my higher power. And it's why I do what I do. And it is how I have passion with purpose, because it's what I live my life for. And it is to believe in you guys. And I do so much, and my purpose and my passion is to help you believe in yourself as much as I believe in you, because I believe in who created you for me. So that is, I thought it was just perfect that was my devotion this morning, and that it is just what I get to do every morning. I get to show up, or every Saturday morning I get to show up with you guys here on Book Club, because it is my purpose to help each and every one of you believe in you the way that I believe in you. And so and because the way that I believe in you. So let's talk about how this book is going to help us this week. And you guys, I know we were talking with some of the leaders this week about, practical tips, and how everybody's hungry for practical tips. And I want to just take a time out here and just say right now, I'm open for feedback. I would love to have, and I always do want to know how we can make this better. I never want to waste anybody's time. But what I also want you guys to know, what I believe, is that we get trained so much. We're really, honestly, the most overtrained team probably in all of Arbonne. However, I don't think that it's wasted. I think that it's valuable when it's applied. I think we have a lot of the know-how. I think we need to do more of the do-how. And the do-how, you guys, whenever we talk about nuts and bolts training, which is what this discussion was this week, the nuts and bolts training, you guys, is really, really simple. Like, people, if you're sitting here and you're one of those people that are saying, I need more nuts and bolts, I need more nuts and bolts of the how-to, I would, talk to 1,000 people if I just knew how. Let me tell you guys, that how is so simple. The how is the 5 key point ask. It is connecting the dots to the people that you think of and that you come in contact with, or that you run into throughout your life every single day. And using that 5 key point ask, because you genuinely take the time to listen and hear them say how they need Arbonne, and you help them connect how this could possibly be a fit for them, and you use that to invite them to hear more about what it is you can do to offer and share this with them. That is honestly the nuts and bolts of doing this business. That's it. The hard part, with all of my heart, I believe, is getting your head to think it's that simple. It's getting your head to know and think the way that it needs to, versus the way it may have been programmed to think throughout your life. And that is where you're going to get the nuts and bolts that are really what everybody needs. So in my opinion, and my argument is, everything we do, whether it seems like a personal growth and development training or not, it's a nuts and bolts training. It's the nuts and bolts that you all need more than probably anything else that we could give you, because the rest of what we do is simple. We just got to get out and ask. And we need to do more of it, you guys. My focus this year is going to be on us increasing our sponsoring across the board. And I've said it on every call that I've had. To get more sponsoring, you guys, we need more activity. Everyone needs more activity. And to get more activity, we need to ask more. To ask more, we need to go to that 5 key point ask in our contact list and our people that we're coming in contact with on our social medias. And everywhere you come in contact with a person, flesh to flesh, skin to skin, and we just need to ask. That's all we need to do. But sponsoring, activity, and ask. That's what we have got to do to get this business to work the way that you want it to work for you, the way you want to use it to live out your purpose and help other people with it. That's all it takes. And so if you're making it anything harder than that in your head, you guys, please stop, because that is it. But what I need you to do is I need everyone to commit to doing more activity. And I don't care how you ask for it. I don't care how you get it. Like I said, it can be a one-on-one, it can be group events, it can be in virtual mode via Zoom or Facebook. It can be in-person mode and skin to skin, but it just needs to be activity. And without activity, we don't have a business, you guys. And so that's where I believe, and I know, not that I believe, I know the game changer to help us doing all of that is personal growth and development. And whenever we go to Maui and we sit and we listen to the MVPs that they put up on stage, that are the people that are moving and shaking in their businesses in that moment more than anybody else in that room, I will tell you, it is without fail that every single one of them says they need personal growth, or they started doing personal growth and development and helping their team do personal growth and development. And I will tell you, we hardly ever heard the word book club spoken in those trainings. And this year, I heard multiple people say in their book club. And so we're doing the right things. And I just want you to know that there's value in everything that we give you, and that it is only going to give you a return when you apply it. And the applying it is those simple nuts and bolts of just asking. So that's where I want to take advantage of the platform I have this morning with all of you. And if you guys know or think there's something more that we can do to give you more nuts and bolts, I try to weave it in. But if there's more that you need out of this to make it more valuable and help lead your teams to it, then let me know, because I am open to it. I just want you guys to know, don't make this harder than it is, because it is such a simple business, but we just have to start asking. So let's follow the Canvas strategy. And what the Canvas strategy is kind of what we're doing here on these calls every week, and what we need to do for our lives and our businesses in order for them to grow, is that it is a way of clearing the path for people. They talk about, it was in the Roman system, that the higher politician, playboys, the rich businessmen, and all of those people had the lower class people that would kind of walk through the streets with them and clear the path for them, because they were able to proceed in front of them anywhere they traveled in Rome, making way, communicating messages, and generally making that person's life easier. And you guys, I was thinking about that, and that's what, Arbonne is for us, is it helps clear a path for us to be able to get to the life that we all want, but only when we do what it is this business requires all of us to do. And what I was doing when I started my business was I was making a way to clear the path for my family to have the life that I knew that I wanted them to have, versus the one that the world said they were going to get if we kept doing it by the world standards. And so that's what we do in here, you guys. And instead of being ungrateful or resentful like these people were, they were resentful of their hard things, you guys. And I want you to know, like, everybody has their hard. And when we say that, we don't mean that we minimize what your heart is. But what we have to do, if we're not going to let that heart destroy us, is we have to learn how to have an attitude of gratitude for it. And you have to learn that everything that we go through in our life is meant to help us do and help somebody else go through it for theirs, because we suffered it first. And we learned along the way what we were able to do to make that better and make it change. And so make it change something for us for good. And so the problem is, it wasn't really a bad thing, even though those people hated having to do what they did for those upper class people that expected it out of them. But what it is if they had the right attitude, it could help them make a way instead of being resentful. And that he said in this book, he said, the problem is, it was ego in them. He said, the problem is, like most of us, he said, they hated every minute of it because they believed that the system somehow made them a slave. And instead of being pained by such a system, he says, what if we'd been able to come to terms with it? What if, he said, we could have appreciated opportunities it offered? Nope. It seemed to eat people, or him, this person he was talking about, up inside instead. And that's the thing. He said, today we see kids that are more willing to live at home with their parents than to submit to something that they're overqualified to work for. And you guys, I will tell you, he says, you have to be willing to take a step back in order to be able to take several steps forward. And I had to do that in every stage of my career. And boy, was it humbling, way before Arbonne ever came along. And so ask yourself and look back in your journey and say, did I ever have to start at ground zero, even though I was better than that job or that pay scale or that title gave me or allowed me to say that I was? In my nursing career, you guys, I had to start out as a nursing student, at the hospital. And then I worked my way up to a floor nurse. Then I worked my way up to a charge nurse. Then I got my master's degree. And then I was running committees and developing programs and partnering with, doctors and physicians in starting things that had never been a part of that hospital before. And so I went from bottom to the top. But whenever Dr. Cools asked me to go to Norman Pediatric Associates as a primary care nurse, I knew nothing. I mean, I told him I help kids die. I don't know what an ear infection looks like. That was my exact words to him whenever he asked me to go with him. But I went. And you guys, you know what I had to go for? Because I always wanted to. I had to go and I had to be his office nurse. Honestly, anybody could have done the job that I've done. I mean, I had to take some vital signs and I had to ask them what their chief complaint was. And I just pulled people back in the room all day long. And that was my job. And if I had had ego involved, I would have never said yes to stepping down from that high, position of authority and recognition and status to be able to go down to being an office nurse that did vital signs and asked people what their chief complaint was. So, but if I hadn't done that, I would have never moved to Norman, Oklahoma, and I would have never met Martha McIntyre, where I was at one point in Norman. People loved being able to come to see me, even though at first I had to be told, they don't want to see the nurse, they want to see the doctor. And I had to suffer those insults to my pride and my ego, because I knew what I could do to help these people and that they would love me if they just gave me a chance. But people didn't want to give me a chance. And I had to suffer that and let them go, okay, I'm sorry, they put me in my room, but they won't see me. They are going to wait until they see the doctor. You guys, that was my life. And then I got to start with Arbonne, and guess where I went? Let me tell you, I eventually became the person out of 8 providers. I billed more than any other providers, including the 4 physicians, because people did end up loving me and wanted to see me over anybody else in that clinic. So then again, I rose to the top. But then I had to start back at the bottom with my Arbonne career. And I had to be a consultant. I had to start at knowing nothing, and I had to work to get myself back up into the position. I used the same success strategy every single time, which helps, but I want you to look back on your life. Like, what have you had to suffer with your ego and your pride in order to fall to the bottom and in order to be able to take several steps forward? Because that's what every time it did on my journey. And that's what we're doing in Arbonne every time, you guys. Every time you start something like this, or everybody comes into this Arbonne business, I don't care what your title is, I don't care who you were out there in your world before Arbonne, you start where everybody else starts. That's the beautiful thing about this journey, is that nobody gets a head start. It is an equalizer of all things. And so what we do with it and how we handle that is what we're going to get out of it. And if you let pride and ego come in the way for you during this time, it will hold you back and keep you from ever having and becoming what you can be on this journey. This business, it attracts dream team people because it's people that know they're worth more than what they're getting paid out there in the world's, pay scale that they are trapped in, and the time restraints that they have to live by because somebody else or something else controls their schedule, and they don't like it. So they know they could do this, and they come in here and they believe with all their heart they're going to burn this up and they're going to do amazing things with it. But I will tell you what happens is that then their pride and ego will take over, and they get hit and they get insulted a couple of times by, what people think about them for doing something like this, or the rejection that they have to face, that we all have to face when we do something like this. And they will fall out because they're like, oh, it felt way more comfortable over there. And I always say that the thing about this business is that we end up coming in and wanting to do more, but because our environment has restrained us in our world outside of Arbonne. And in Arbonne, you guys, there's no restraints on you. There is nothing holding you back but you. And that is where you have to decide if you're going to let your ego and pride take over and stop you from trying and moving forward and learning and failing forward and being able to step back to go several steps forward. Or are you going to let that uncomfortable feeling and hit on your pride and ego stop you and just retreat back into the life where you can say and blame somebody else for your life instead of taking responsibility for your life and your actions? You guys, that's Arbonne exposes everything about our lives. I mean, people, come in here and they start having issues or problems in different areas of their life. And you guys, it's not Arbonne that caused that. It's Arbonne that exposes it. And what I love is that it shows us who we are at our core and what we need to learn and grow in. And we all are on a journey, and we're never going to have the opportunity to stop growing. So we need to know, you guys, that dream team people are not people that are just successful and still keep their pride and ego strong and intact when they walk into this opportunity. What a dream team person is somebody that has hard work ethic, humility, and desire. Those are the things that you want to look for in people. Are you somebody that can take a hit at your ego, take a hit at your pride, and keep on going and look at whatever hit you and honestly evaluate it and find out where it is and what it is you can grow from in all of that? Or are you going to let it stop you and make you retreat out of this life-changing opportunity that could help you also not just change your life, but live out your purpose in helping others change theirs? So he says, naturally, this is not what the kid who was chosen over all other kids in the position wanted to hear. You guys, people like that are successful don't want to come in here and get beat up. They want to be, put in this position of high esteem. And it's not going to happen in Arbonne. So are you prepared for it, and are you preparing others? He says, when you're just starting out, he says, be sure that you are aware of a few fundamental realities. 1, you're not nearly as good or as important as you think you are. 2, you have an attitude that needs to be readjusted. And 3, most of what you think and most of what you learned in books or in school is out of date or wrong. And you guys, I will tell you, everything I've learned about my life, I've learned on the job training in every situation. I learned the basics in school, and I learned the discipline to get through school, but I learned life by doing what I had to do in every role I've ever had in life. So he says, there's a fabulous way to work around all of the system. Attach yourself to people and organizations who are already successful and subsume your identity into theirs and move forward simultaneously with them. And he says the other effect of this attitude is it reduces your ego at a critical time in your career, letting you absorb everything you can without obstructions that block others' vision and progress. And he says you look for opportunities for someone other than yourself. So who can you help on this journey? But who's helping you? And then we all move together towards what we want at the same time. He says Benjamin Franklin was the one that had the constant benefit of making other people look good and letting them take credit for his ideas. And you guys, that's what we do when we help people succeed. You know, like right now we have people that are in qualification for every level in their business, from district to area to region to nation. And what we should want to do, you guys, is help everybody that we are following that's in qualification. We should be working hard to put ourselves in qualification for the next level so that we help them complete their level. Everything you do should be to want to help somebody else hit their goal, and you will benefit from that because you will hit a bigger goal. But if you take your focus on you and you're only worrying about you, and you look at somebody who's in qual for a big thing, you can go area by yourself, but you really don't want to. To go area, region, or nation, you need a team. And you need to look and say, am I part of a team that's in qual, or am I part of a team that needs to go in qual? And if I am, I need to be the person that is out there doing more asking, more activity, and more sponsoring in order to make that happen for the person above me. Because if I can work to make that happen for them, I promise you guys, you're going to end up in a place that will blow your mind for you. And what happens then is you're also going to be bringing more people into your business that you're going to be helping get to a position that they need to get to. And you're helping not only the person above you, the person below you, and you help yourself by default. But you got to take your focus off yourself, because if all you're worried about yourself is yourself, and you're not ready to push to go into the qualification for the next level, or you're not worried about helping anybody else out there in the world find their way with this vehicle to whatever life's definition of success is for them, then you're not going to do anything extra than what you're willing to do, because your pride and your ego won't let you. This business and this life, you guys, we say it all the time, and I need you to know, like, do you really know this is not about you? None of the things that we do on this earth is about us. That's what a purpose is. A purpose is something to and for something and someone else. Ego is I, the big I, and that's it. So have you looked around and thought, who am I helping this month? Who am I helping go and finish or get into qualification for the next level? And who am I helping to discover this and help them start going into qualification for something that's going to change their life because I do? So we help people, and we get boosted whenever we do that. And I love the Arbonne system because it's the only way you get successful in this business. So you can see how easily entitlement and sense of superiority, the trappings of ego, would have made accomplishments of either Benjamin Franklin or this other guy that he was talking about. It would make it impossible for them to be successful. If Benjamin Franklin had had any pride and ego, he would not have submitted his work and let somebody else take credit for his writings and stuff. He would have only done it for himself. But because he didn't let pride and ego, he let humility, hard work, and attitude of gratitude be what drove him. He was and became the father of time. So greatness comes from humble beginnings, and it comes from grunt work, you guys. It means you're the least important person in the room until you change that with results. And you guys, I love, love, love that I had humble beginnings. Yesterday was Valentine's Day, and it was, sweetheart day, love day. And you guys, I was, wishing my kids happy Valentine's and thinking back to what it was like whenever I was a kid, and my first Valentine was my daddy, my sweet daddy. And we had no money, you guys. I mean, I wish you could imagine how much no money we had in our life. And yet I know every Valentine's, what I can remember today as a 54-year-old, is that when I was a little girl, my daddy would come home with these chocolate hearts of candy, and he would give them. And it was like, wow, it was like Christmas in February. And it was so exciting. And he was so excited to give his sweethearts a little chocolate heart of candy, even though we didn't have the money to do that. I'm so grateful that we didn't have much, because it wouldn't have been as sweet. Can you be grateful for what you didn't have that helped you become who you are today? Maybe you didn't have a sweet daddy, but Did you marry somebody who is a sweet daddy today and doesn't make you more grateful because you know what a gift it is? It's attitude, you guys. Everything we do is attitude. But can you be grateful for the humble beginnings of Arbonne? Can you be grateful that you needed to learn and start at the bottom so that you could help somebody else do it someday too, and help them find their way just like you had to find your way? And you help them connect to the things that you know you need to do, you had to do in order to be successful, and that you have to make sure they do it too. And you don't waver, you don't candy coat, you don't start watering down what it is we really have to do to make this work for us, because it takes every bit of it, because we know, because we had to do it. And sometimes we try it the other way, but we don't. So be grateful. And he says, say little and do much, be lesser and do more. Like, just be willing to do, to not get any recognition, any accolades, and just work harder. I tell people all the time whenever they're like frustrated that people are not seeing them as somebody that can truly help them. I'm like, you know what, guys? Don't try to convince them. Just go get successful. Just go get successful. Go do what it is you want them to do. Go do more of it so that you can get successful and help them realize, oh, wait, maybe I do need to listen to this person. Maybe I do need to follow this person and do what it is they said they were going to do whenever they were first trying to help me. Don't let your ego and pride stop you from doing it. Go do it more, because that's what's going to help you truly clear, or use that canvas strategy, clear the path for other people to see what it really takes in order for them to be able to come in here and do this. He says you develop a reputation of being indispensable. You'd have countless new relationships. You'd have enormous bank of favors to call upon down the road. And he says the canvas strategy is about helping yourself by helping others. He said let the others take credit on credit while you defer and earn interest on the principal, and be willing to be passed up, be willing to be overlooked, but just be willing to keep working harder than anybody else that you are helping along the way. The canvas strategy, he says, is there for you anytime. You can start anytime, before you have a job, before you're hired, while you're doing something else, or if you're starting something new, or find yourself inside an organization without strong allies or support. He says, if you pick up this mantle once, you'll see what people's egos prevent them from appreciating. The person who clears the path ultimately controls its direction, just as the canvas shapes the painting. That's pretty cool, you guys. Those guys that were having to lead people through Rome as the servants and the slaves, they were actually leading the way. That's what we do whenever we are willing to just start picking up from the bottom and work and go first before anybody else is willing to follow you. You're leading the way, even though you're willing to take the hits to your ego, the hits to your pride, and keep on going, even though it hurts. And even though you don't know how you're ever going to find anybody to do this with you, you keep going and don't stop. And I will tell you, you will end up leading the way. The next part is restrain yourself. And he talks about Jackie Robinson, who honestly, I only knew him and his name from being a famous baseball player. But apparently he had a history of, being in the military and being a little boy that had lots of attitude, got in lots of fights and all of those things. And he was born back in the day whenever equal rights were not, the popular thing, or maybe they were trying to make their way, but there was still more opposition than there was acceptance. And but they talk about just what he, how hot-headed he was, and how he was mistreated, you guys. Absolutely. And they said that, why should he let anyone else treat him this way? No one should have to stand for what he had to suffer, and ended up being court-martialed for and then acquitted, etc. But you guys, sometimes we have to tell ourselves that, like, we get mistreated in this business. I'm not going to candy coat it. I'm not going to tell you it's easy and you're not going to have opposition. But you guys, can you withstand it even though you shouldn't have to? That's the real question. Can you still handle it? And if you let ego be any part of this, you won't. Even if you stay here, you will stop doing the activity and the asking because your ego can't handle it. And I will tell you, that one right there, you should take a little star note. If you're not asking and you're not booking activity and you're not sponsoring new people, you may have not quit Arbonne, but you still let your ego take control, and you're not doing Arbonne. Because you don't want to ask, because if you do it the wrong way, and you can say, well, I would if I just knew how. I need more nuts and bolts training like we talked about when this started. No, you don't. You need to be willing to go be bad and start fresh and learn and get good. You have the basic tools. You're not going to get any better until you start practicing it and doing it. It's what we all do in every area that we've ever gotten successful. We always had to have a practicum, a practice of what we were doing on our journey. So you shouldn't have to let people treat you badly, but you're going to have people treat you badly, period. And you have to be willing to survive it and keep doing it no matter what. So he said he had one question whenever he got asked to join the baseball league. His scout and manager and the owner of the team said, he goes, I have one question for you. Do you have guts? And I'll tell you guys, Arbonne takes guts. Arbonne takes guts. Do you have guts? That's what he asked Jackie Robinson, because he said, you know what? He said, you're going to have, I need a player with guts to not fight back. I need an Arbonne consultant that has the guts to not let ego get in your way, to not let pride stop you from doing what you know you can do. That's what we need, and that's what we're looking for. And that's when you see, I mean, I will tell you right now, our hottest hotshot in our organization is Jill Lyons. And I will tell you, she's got guts, because she doesn't care and doesn't have enough ego to stop her from letting anybody stop her from doing what it is she knows she's here to do. We all need more guts, you guys. We all need to get our ego out of the way and quit worrying about the big eye and just start going out there and doing what it is we can do to make a difference in this world by helping more people. So he needed somebody who wouldn't let his ego block him from seeing the bigger picture. And I said, this is what we're looking for. He said he got, hit. He almost had his Achilles torn because people would try to take him out using their spikes. And he would get attacked, maimed, almost even killed, you guys. But he says Jackie Robinson held to his unwritten pact with Ricky, never giving into explosive anger, no matter however it was deserved. You guys, as explosive and volatile as he was as a kid and in the military, he held his pact with that guy and said, I have the guts to not react. I have the guts to not let my ego or my pride stop me from moving forward in this. And so he said, Robinson, if he had done anything to react, it would have ended his career, but set back his grand experiment for a generation. And he said, Jackie's path called for him to both put aside both his ego and in some respects, his basic sense of fairness and rights as a human being. And you guys, that's what you have to do. You have to be able to put aside your ego for your dreams. You have to put aside your ego in order to be able to have the life that is waiting for you when you do. And you can. Every one of us has it in us. We just have to take the attitude of humility and hard work and not let pride and ego stop us. He understood that forces were trying to bait him and ruin him, and he shouldn't have to do what he was doing, but he did. You guys, do you know forces are trying to bait you and ruin you? Do you know that you're the mirror for people? And if they can stop you from changing your life and getting successful, that then they don't have to look at you and know what they could have become if they had just chosen to let humility and hard work be the drivers of their life instead of pride and ego. You are what people don't want to see. So do you know that people are going to be out to bait you and destroy you in this journey that you're on? That is truth. So you have to know it, and you have to be willing to just go, doesn't matter. I'm not going to stop. I'm going to take whatever it is they give me. I'm going to take their ugly comments. I'm going to take their rejection. I'm going to take their criticism. I'm going to take, their disbelief in me and this opportunity and Arbonne and network marketing. I'm going to take it all, and I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to keep on keeping on, and you're going to end up being the people that they talk about, just like we do Jackie Robinson today for doing what it is that he did. So he says, getting angry, getting emotional, losing restraint is a recipe for failure. Your ego will do you no favors here, whether you're struggling with critics or enemies or a capricious boss. It doesn't matter that they don't understand or that you know better. It's too early for that, and it's too soon. So you guys, we don't have to argue with people. We don't need to be convincing anybody. It's too soon for all of that. Just go work, go get successful by asking and doing more activity and sponsoring more people. That's what we have to do in order to change the world. You guys, I had all of that. And I swear, I have people today that come up to me, and I mean, what I hear most is, I sure wish I'd have done what you asked me to do 17 years ago. And I'm still telling them it's not too late. You can still do it now. And it's even better now than it was 17 years ago. But I can also tell you that I have people go, how did you do it? And you know how I did it? I didn't let anything stop me. I didn't let any of their comments or their way of thinking stop me, because I pulled on the two things I always refer to. And it's what I heard Rita Davenport, our past president, say early on in my business, was I didn't take advice from anybody messed up more than me. So if people were criticizing me or punching at my desire to do this and get successful at it, I looked at them and said, do they have the life that I want for me and my family? And if the answer was no, I didn't argue with them. I played Jackie Robinson. I just smiled and, had to gracefully, get out of the situation. But I deleted whatever it is they said to me, because it didn't and could not matter to me, because they were not what I was going for my family. The second thing that I had to live by was, if somebody was trying to take this away from me, what were they giving me back in return that was going to help me get what I needed and wanted for my life and my family? And if the answer was nothing, all they were doing was taking it from me by their comments and their criticism, I had to delete those comments in my head whenever I left that conversation, not arguing with them, not getting in a pissing match, excuse my language, with them, and trying to justify why I'm doing what I'm doing. I just went off and kept doing it. And it made me do it more, you guys, because all I wanted to do with all of my heart was go prove every one of them wrong. And guess what? Because I did have that attitude, I did prove them wrong. You can too. You can too. And I'm telling you, every time you don't quit when they do that, you are building, you're building up credibility in your do-how, because people know they were trying to stop you and they see that it didn't stop you. And that makes them step back and take notice instead of you. You step forward, you stayed on offense, you put them on defense. They may not join you, but they'll shut up. If you just keep going and you don't stop, they may not join your team, but they will shut up criticizing what it is you're doing, because they know their efforts are void and null with you. So stay strong, you guys, and not with pride and ego, but humility, like Jackie Robinson did. Talked about the mirror. It doesn't matter how talented you are, how great your connections are, how much money you have. When you want to do something big and important and meaningful, you will be subjected to treatment ranging from indifference to outright sabotage. He says, count on it. And you can count on it here in Arbonne. Those who have subdued their ego understand that it doesn't degrade you when others treat you poorly, it degrades them. And that is so true, you guys. And that's why it shuts them up, because they know what they were trying to do. And yet it didn't change you. And it just makes them go inward and look at them and their ugly self instead of continuing to come outward at you. He says, you'll get yelled at. He says another little word in there that will happen to you. He says, all of this will make you angry. He says, this will make you want to fight back. This will make you want to say, I'm better than this. I deserve more. And he says, worse, you'll want to get in other people's faces, and people who don't deserve the respect, recognition, or rewards they're getting. And in fact, those people will often get perks instead of you. And you may see people get a life that is, looks great, even though you're still here grinding for yours. But it's okay. Stay the path, because he says you will and avoid the impulse to correct them. And are you prepared for that? Do you prepare people? I prepare people for what they're going to experience whenever they start. And that way they know what to expect. And I give them those two things that Rita Davenport gave me. Sometimes they use it and they stay on strong with it, and sometimes they don't. Sometimes they let their ego and pride stop them. But he says, instead of reacting, we must do nothing. Take it, eat it until you're sick, endure it, quietly brush it off, and work harder. Play the game, ignore the noise, and for the love of God, do not let it distract you. Restraint is a difficult skill, but a critical one. You'll often be tempted. You'll probably even be overcome. No one is perfect at it, but we got to try, you guys. And we got to keep moving forward. He says, you're not going to change the system until after you've made it. And you'll have find some way to suit your purpose. He says he never did anything to undermine his legacy, a class act from the opening day until the end. And the tightrope he walked would tolerate only restraint and had no forgiveness for ego. And honestly, not many paths do. And that is true, you guys. Arbonne has no room for ego in this journey. It will kill you on this journey. And we've got to let our ego stay in check and know that it's our enemy. He says, get out of your own head. And this is, the good thoughts or the bad thoughts. Inability to get out of one's own head is probably the hardest, and why I think this is probably the most important part of nuts and bolts that you can ever get is learning how to control your head, learning and developing mind muscle, and that control. He says this guy was constantly thinking about himself and how wonderful he was doing, congratulating himself for victories. And you guys, this is where we can get success. Like he says, ego is the enemy of our past success, because when we get in our own head and think about what it is that we're doing all the time, then we quit doing it. And we need to just keep doing it and not think about what we need. We need to think about what everybody else needs. It doesn't matter how successful I am. I will do this business and I will do this business until I get called home. That is what my journey is. I will tell you, honestly, there's lots of people in Arbonne that don't have this attitude. And I think it's a destructor of what it is that you can do now on your journey. If you in your head have a stopping point that you go, okay, when I get to region, or when I get to nation, or when I get 6 wide nations, or whenever I get 7 and I get 1 for insurance, that's whenever I'm going to get to quit and I'm going to get to live life the way I want to live it. You guys, I live life every day how I want to live it, but I will always do this business until. And that's the goal. That's why titles mean nothing to me. The number of MVPs mean nothing to me, because I'm going to keep doing this to the best of my ability. I'm going to keep working to get better at it until I get called home. And whatever it is, I've done it to the best of my ability. But that best, you guys, is what we need out of everybody if we're really going to become a part of Arbonne's mission and their purpose today. It is until we get done, because we're here for a purpose and it's bigger than us. He says the world will tell us to promote our own brand, but we're required to tell stories in order to sell our work and our talents. And after enough time, he says, sometimes we talk about our story so much that we forget about what the reality is. And you guys, that happens in Arbonne. We get out of date MVPs. And I will tell you, there's some big ones that collect a great paycheck and are in the high, number of income people out of all the top level income earners that we have. But when you hear them talk, you're like, that's not relevant anymore. That's not what we're doing anymore. And unless you keep doing it until, and you stay in the trenches with everybody until, you become irrelevant. And whether you're here or not, if you're just sitting here talking about your past success, it doesn't matter. I love that our web stats zero out. I still call them web stats. Our team reports zero out every first of the month. There is no title. At the first of the month, I am a brand new consultant with 0 in my business. What I do that month is what I get. It does not matter a title. It is at 0 every month for me, just like it is for the brand new consultant here, because I am a brand new consultant every single month. And what I do for my business that month is what's going to make a difference for my business. So don't become an out-of-date consultant because what we did at one point worked. Stay working it today. And trying to see. We stay stuck inside our heads of participating in the world around us And if we just stay in our heads and not out in the world and working, that's ego, you guys. And how we can stay hungry and aware, and how we appreciate the present in the moment, how we can be creative within the realm of practicality. He says, living clearly and presently takes courage. And he says, don't live in the haze of abstract, live with the tangible and the real, even if, especially if it's uncomfortable. You know what, guys? People could be comfortable at really, area manager is a great income by the world standards. It's a scary place. You can get trapped at area manager. You can really get trapped at regional vice president if you start living in the tangible. But if you live with your purpose and you live with knowing that you have to stay relevant, you're going to stay in the trenches with everybody, because you know the more comfortable you get, the more uncomfortable you become for the world. There is a world of people out there that need Arbonne. There's a world of people out there that need successful Arbonne consultants that are going to go on and use this to fulfill another mission outside of just building an Arbonne business. You're going to go help feed the hungry. You're going to go help, get the word out for whatever you believe in and you're passionate about, and you know you have your purpose for. There's no one to perform for. There's just work to be done and lessons to be learned in all that is around us. So you guys, just work. The danger of early pride, and I'm like, oh, the danger. The pride before we ever get started. And you guys, that's what I get worried about for Arbonne more than anything right now, is that there's so much success going on that it is a set up for early pride. I mean, and we've said it all this time, if we let pride and ego get in the way, it's going to rob us of the success and the difference that we can make down the road. C.S. Lewis says, a proud man is always looking down on things and people. And of course, as long as you are looking down, you cannot see something that is above you. But you guys, there is, just a lot of risk in this. So make sure that you just stay head down and keep working. And that's the thing that will keep you from letting your pride take over, because at the beginning of the month, you start at zero. He says, Christians believe that pride is a sin because it is a lie. And it is a lie, you guys. Whatever your pride and ego is telling you is a lie. It convinces people that they are better than they are and that they are better than God made them. Pride leads to arrogance and then away from humility and connection with their fellow man. And you can see that in people, you guys. It's happened to all of us. I mean, I remember thinking whenever I started and I went faster than anybody else, I mean, I had so much pride. I thought, oh my gosh, I guess all of that formal education that I had before I joined Arbonne helped me be so much better at Arbonne that I didn't need to do all that personal growth and development stuff that everybody else was working on. And that's why I got successful faster than anybody ever in the history of the company, including our president, Rita Davenport. I mean, I'm not kidding you. That's exactly what I thought. And I will tell you today, I know that what Rita Davenport did in 6 months makes me look like, like chump change at the time that she did it in Arbonne. Because whenever I came to Arbonne, there had been people that had used the Canvas strategy and had cleared the path for me. And I should have gone quicker than anybody else ever, because it was better in Arbonne then than it ever had been before. Just like today, I believe people should go faster today than anything we've ever seen in the history of Arbonne before. That's why somebody can come in and in 5 months go nation. You know why? Not because they're that much better than everybody else, but because they've had the path cleared for them. Arbonne is a perfect example of the Canvas strategy in motion. We're all here just making a swath and clearing the path for the people that are coming behind us. And the next one should always do better than the last one. But that's what we have to know and believe, and know that we are offering this to people whenever we do. He says, you don't have to be a Christian to see the wisdom in this. You need only to care about your career to understand that pride, even in real accomplishments, is a distraction and a deluder. So just, you guys, pride takes a minor accomplishment and makes it feel like a major one. And I will tell you, MVP is a minor accomplishment. I know you guys are sitting there, and if you're not at that level, you're like, oh my gosh, MVP is major accomplishment. No, it's not, really. MVP is just a starting point of what you can do to help other people, because you've learned so much on your journey. You have even more to help. Your responsibility gets bigger, you guys, as you grow. It won't happen for you until you're ready for it, so don't be afraid of it. but it only gets started when you go MVP. It is such a small accomplishment compared to the purpose that we have all been given for our lives with this vehicle. Like I said, do Arbonne until. Cecilia Stoll is 12 wide, and I promise you, she's nowhere near done because this is her purpose. This is not, it is a vehicle for her purpose. It is not a title that she's chasing. So don't let your minor accomplishments feel like a big deal or a major one. Pride goeth before a fall. Let's call that attitude what it is. It's fraud. He says, just keep going and stay steady. He says, what a pitiful thing when a man lets a little temporary success spoil him, warp his judgment, and forget who he is. It's, you know, we make an obsession around what reality and truth really is in the world around us. And he says, that's exactly why we can't afford to have, only hear the praise. He says, we need to remain, we need to receive feedback, maintain hunger, and chart a proper course in life. Pride dulls all of these senses. In other cases, it stirs up negative parts of our life, the ability to make everything about us. And he says, if you can't swallow your pride, you can't lead. And I wrote in here, like, I'll skip it, it's all right. What we don't protect ourselves against are people and things that make us feel good, or rather too good. We must prepare for pride and kill it early, or it will kill what we aspire to do. The first product of self-knowledge is humility. This is how we fight the ego, by really knowing ourselves. What am I missing right now? What that our more humble person might see. So you guys, we want to do pride. We love doing recognition and stuff, but guys, recognition is not really you need to know you're worthy of it. You need to know you deserve it. But what you need to know is that don't let it make you feel like you're too good. Don't let it be why you're doing this. Let this be that you just want to stay, in the trenches with the world where you're trying to get out of, but stay in there with them and help more people find their way. In my head, what comes to my mind is you're like a missionary. A missionary has their faith, but they're still out there in a faithless world leading people to their faith. That's what we do in Arbonne. It's really so similar to my Christian life that it's natural for me to just keep moving forward in this, because it's not about me. There's a bigger purpose that I was created for, and it's not just for me. It's worth saying, just because you are quiet doesn't mean that you are without pride. It's still dangerous. And you guys, I highlighted that because we have so many people that are so sweet, and you're quiet and you're so opposite of me. And I'm like such a shock to you. And, people can see where somebody like me can be very full of pride and ego and have to fight it. But I will tell you, the people that are sweet and quiet are just as prideful, if not more prideful. I at least will get out there and give the world what I got and not care so much about what they think of me. People that are sweet and quiet and don't want to be noticed or disrupt their world, you do nothing because you don't want to disrupt your world. And that, you guys, is pride. And I know it sucks to hear it, but it is just pride. And it is ego and worrying about what they're going to think about the big I instead of what you can do for somebody else, no matter what they think about you. And this is where I tell people, I've done coaching calls with some of you, and I'm looking at your sweet faces right now. You need to go shock your world a little bit. You need to go be not so sweet and not so kind out there, so that they will know, whoa, wait a minute, that's not you. What is this? And make them think twice about what it is that you just asked them to do, and not just brush you off because they think, oh, that's just sweet little so-and-so out there. They won't care if I ignore them. Shock them. Do the shock factor, because you are passionate for this purpose that you have. So we are still striving, and it's the strivers who should be our peers, not the proud and the accomplished. And that is, you guys, my peers are the people who are out here working and doing, and I'm humble enough to learn from all of them. There are so many things that people do that I can learn from, but there's also a lot of things I do that they can learn from. And what I love about Arbonne is that there's so many people that are better than me in this journey that I can learn from. And there's so many people that I can help on my journey and turn around. So at one time we're having our hand and we're getting pulled up by somebody who's better than me on this journey. And at the other hand, I'm down here going, have my hand stretched out over here and I'm pulling somebody up with me on this hand. That is what this business is all about and what keeps our pride and our ego in check when you're reaching out for help, but you're also pulling down and helping at the same time. That's how Arbonne works, the beautiful way that it does. So he just says at the end of this, it's more directly, don't boast. There's nothing in it for you. So do this until the next page, work, work, work. He says the best plan is only good intentions unless it degenerates into work. And you guys, that's where I say all of this is nothing unless we sponsor. And to sponsor, we have to have activity. And to do activity, we just have to ask. And you guys, this is my challenge that I talked to my team about. I said, if I had a $10,000 check, Rita Davenport used to say, I wish I had my Mercedes keys right here. I've got your Mercedes keys and your $10,000 check sitting right here. If I said that and I said, if you could go book, I'll even say, let's say 6 presentations, because 6 for success, 6 presentations this month, the month of February, this is the 15th. I'm well aware of what day it is. But I believe that if I told each and every one of you, I've got a $10,000 check and the keys to your white Mercedes sitting right here when you go get those 6 presentations booked, you could all do it. Tell me, could you go get it done if that's what you thought was waiting on you? Give me some affirmation. Give me a chat. Give me a nod. Give me some text on this. You could do it. So we have to just go work, work, work and do it. You guys, that's the best nuts and bolts training you will ever get right there. Keep your head on straight and go, if I could do it for a $10,000 check, I would do it. So that means I can do it now. So go do it. Go prove to yourself, because it will be the best gift. That $10,000 check would be exponentially growing for you the minute you let yourself go do this, because you know you could, and nothing, most importantly, you would stop stopping you. Period. You would no longer stop you because you know you can. And you guys, it's not, maybe we're too nice in the, would you take a look, tell me no. Let's just say, I need some activity because I'm on a challenge. And you know what? The challenge is you're challenging yourself. You're challenging yourself to see, can I go book 6 presentations if I really set my head to it and my heart to it? And just say, I need a presentation and I need you to help me get in front of some people that you think would care about this. And I need that on my calendar in the month of February. What will it take for me to get you to help me do this? And be willing to give them something. It doesn't have to be much. You guys, use your free gift that Arbonne's going to give them when they get a $150 order and sign up for free this month. You know, give them a free sign up this month when they get $150 in sales. You know, that's Arbonne giving you that. You can use it however you want. So that's what we have to do, because we can. And when you did that, you guys, I promise you, your check, that check you said you would go for $10,000 will turn into a $10,000 check, not only for you, but for a lot of people, because now you know how to do it and you believe you can, and you can help other people believe they can too, because you know you did it. That's how simple this business is. I would love to know who's in it. Type in and chat, am I in for this challenge? Let's see what we do with February. Let's see how many of us make this happen and what February ends up looking like for us, because we start doing this. So work, work, work. And I don't know what he says about this chapter, but that's what I say. And he says, it's not ideas that makes the verse, it's work. It's work. He says, you must work until you're able to recreate your experience effectively in words with a page. And just, I broke down sponsor, 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 activity. You have to be both a craftsman and an artist, and you have to do the labor in the business, not just let it be a product of the mind. So you guys, we have this in our mind and our heart, but do you have it? Do you have the labor part added to it? So he says, where we trade thinking and talking for working, he says, you can't build a reputation on what you were going to do or what you have done. Like I said, you can't live on your past successes because you're has been, and people can spot you from a mile away. And you can't live on what you're going to do. People are watching what you're really doing. And I promise you guys, the other thing that happens whenever you do this, is people then start to believe that when you ask them to do this with you, that you actually could help them do it because they see you doing it. And guess what? The people that you had asked before now will say yes to you because they're like, oh, she really can help me. She really could do this because look, she's doing it and she could help me do it. And everything, I promise you, providence moves. There's that saying that providence moves whenever you decide. And that's all this is deciding. I can go book 6 presentations this month. If I did it, this is what would happen. Providence will move in every way for you. And that's how that $10,000 check multiplies into more for you and helping other people get their $10,000 check at the same time. The hard thing isn't dreaming big. The hard thing is waking up in the middle of the night and turning dreams into nightmare. And you guys, that is so like, it is so true with what wakes you up at night is not what you have to do in this business. It's what you're not doing in your business. That's what the nightmare is for all of us that know we have this vehicle. Ah, that makes me cry. I know you guys are thinking, why are you crying over that? Because you know what makes me cry is I know your hearts. I know what wakes you up at night is knowing what you can do with this and yet what you know you're not. And that breaks your heart. You guys, stop the pain. Stop the incessant crazy making part of this business and just go do what it is you know you can do and that you are supposed to do with this. This is passion, you guys, but I'm talking about it for your purpose. And I hope and pray that it will move you into action. I can't move you and inspire you, but I can inspire you. I can't motivate you, but you can. Stop the crazy and just go do and be faithful with this and be passionate about giving it away for your purpose. He says, sure, you get it. You know all the things require work and that work might be quite difficult, but do you really understand? Do you have any idea just how much work there's going to be? Not work until you get your big break, not work until you make a name for yourself, but work, work, work forever and ever. And I wrote until. Work until, you guys, because it will fulfill you in a way that still makes you crazy because as hard as you work and as many as you help, you know there's even more out there that need help still. That's the only crazy making part of doing this when you work it. But that's a good thing because that is where you get that energy that people look at and go, how did she do what she did? And it's because you're now living and working in your purpose. And when you do that, you are going to have everything you need to do it. It's a promise. It's a promise. You would not be here. And he doesn't call the equipped. He equips the called. And when we are faithful with what we have been given, you will be and have everything you need to fulfill it. That's a promise. You guys, a promise is something that cannot be broken. So go book your 6 events with that promise in mind and know that you have that on your side. The answer is that it doesn't matter. There is no end zone. There's not a certain thing or a certain time. Don't put any limits on this, you guys, because the only limits you have are what you put on yourself. Just like the people that I say, I'm going to go get 7 NBPs wide because that gives me 1 more for insurance. I doubt they'll get 7, you guys, because they've already set a limit on what it is they're doing and why they're doing it. And I don't believe that those are the people that get blessed. I believe Cecilia Stoll is 12 wide because she has no limits on what it is she will do and who she will talk to offer this business. I was just having a phone conversation with her a week or so ago, and she said, I'm looking for my next person to sponsor. That's what Cecilia Stoll's words were. Are those your words? Are you looking for the next person to sponsor? Sponsor as a PC or an IC with the goals of helping that PC convert to an IC and help you go further your mission and your purpose with them and the people they can reach that you can't. So he says, for all of us, provided we have the constitution and humbleness to be patient and the fortitude to put into work. By this point, you'll probably understand why ego would bristle the idea. Within reach, it complains. That means you're saying, I don't have it now. Exactly right. He says, no matter where you are, Cecilia, myself, anybody else that you see in the upper levels, we don't have anything now. We only have what we have in the moment and what we're doing in the moment. And we need to continue to work because no one has anything now. He says, let me see. Your ego wants to be paid well for its time, and it wants to do the fun stuff, the stuff that gets attention, credit, and glory. It doesn't want to spend the time actually putting in the hours and the work. And he says it could be better. Life can be better when we keep going. And this, he says, do we love the work, making a living to do work, not the other way around, or do we love to practice? He says that's what great athletes do. He says they love to practice, and they show up, you guys, and practice when someone else is staying in because the weather wasn't good. They don't get out there and do what the real athletes do because they stop and whenever it gets uncomfortable. He says, so we must have it in order to triumph out of toil. He says there's no triumph without toil and work. And get back to the task at hand, practicing, working, improving. And you guys, that's what I love about this business, is that that's what I wrote about Groundhog Day. In my other careers, both of my 2 different nursing careers, I remember feeling like I was like in Groundhog Day. I'd done and mastered everything I needed to do those jobs. And I was just like, one day I literally pulled up into my work. I walked in the office at my nursing job and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't even remember getting here. Like I had just gone through the motions. And that's whenever it was a light bulb moment that I was not doing what I needed to do with my life. And so what I love about Arbonne is every day it's a new challenge because it's always evolving. And in order for us to stay innovative and relevant, we're always having to think and work and strategize and develop new things to help lead more people. And it's so fun to never let this ever feel old. So take the stairs, you guys. Work is finding yourself alone on the track when the weather kept everybody else indoors. Work is pushing through the pain and the crappy first drafts and prototypes. It's ignoring others that are getting, and more importantly, ignoring the plaudits you may be getting. Like, don't listen to any rewards and stuff. Celebrate, but keep on working. Work doesn't want to be good. Work doesn't want to be good. It is made so despite the headwind. I don't know. Next thing, for everything that comes next, ego is the enemy, you guys. I think we talked about it. We know where we want to end up. Success. We want to matter. Wealth and recognition and reputation are nice. We want it all. But you guys, what you really, really want, and this is, I was listening to a training or a sermon by Andy Stanley, and he says, you know, like, we need to be careful because what the world will tell us what we want is we want that title, area, region, nation, you know, 4 nations wide, 6 nations wide. That's what the world will tell us we want. But he goes, what you really, really want, he says, I promise, is what you really love and value. And that's what you really, really want. And what I really, really want is, I don't want recognition and accolades by anybody except my family. I want my kids to be proud of their mom. I want my husband to be proud of me. I want my heavenly Father to say, well done, thy good and faithful servant. That's what I really, really want, because those are the things I really love and I really value. I love and value all of you, and I work hard to hear those things from you. But at the end of the day, I have to work with where I know what will drive me to do and be my very best. And it's, I live for those. And because I live for him, I live for all of you in the same way. But who and what do you really, really want and value? I don't want and care what other people out in this world outside of Arbonne think of me. And some of those people are my family. But I do care and think about how I want my family that I do life with and that I know is watching me and learning from me to really respect me and value what it is they saw me doing, so that they can do it and turn around and give it to theirs. And that's the legacy that I know I will live and leave. And that I will hear, well done, thy good and faithful servant. That's what I really value and want. Why? What are you doing with your life? What do you want your life to stand for? What do you want it to mean at the end of all of this? Like Stephen Covey says in 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, he opens up that book with you walking into a funeral and you don't realize it, but as he's leading you up to it and he's having you look around the room and all the people there and what they're standing around saying and talking about and saying about the person that's in the casket, and then you get up to the casket and it's you. And he says, what do you want them to say at the end of all of this? John Maxwell in his trainings this week, you guys, he said a legacy is not built whenever you decide you want it. It starts today. All this work that we talk about you needing to go do, putting that activity on your calendar, all of that leads to and starts building the legacy that you want your life to have when you're gone. So we can face our shortcomings honestly and put in the time. We can let this humble us, see clearly where we are talented and where we need to improve, and then put in the work to bridge the gap. And we can set upon positive habits that will last a lifetime. He says, what is truly ambitious is to face life and proceed with quiet confidence in spite of distractions, you guys. Let others grasp at crutches. It will be a lonely fight to be real and to say, I am not going to take the edge off. To say, I'm going to be myself, the best version of that self. I am in this for the long game, no matter how brutal it might be. To do, not be. I'm going to do Arbonne. I'm going to do what I know I can with this opportunity. So you guys, read that on page 87 and tell yourself that's what you're going to be. Let that be your affirmation. I am going to be myself, the best version of that self. I am in this for the long game, and no matter how brutal it might be, I am here to do, not just be. I'm not just going to be an Arbonne consultant. I'm going to go do what Arbonne consultants do, and that's make a difference with the vehicle that we've been given. You have a chance to do this for yourself, to play a different game and to be utterly audacious in your aims, because what comes next is going to test you in ways that you cannot begin to understand. For ego is the wicked sister of success, and you're about to experience what that means. So you guys, before and after success, the ego is your enemy. So we just got to get rid of it. We'll stop here. In the next part, we start talking about being successful. So we got to go do some activity in order to even need to worry about the next section of this book. So let's go make February a success and make that take that challenge and make it happen, you guys. And I promise everything, Providence will start moving for you when you do. I love you guys. I love my time with you. I know this was crazy long, I just now looked, but I hope and pray that it was, the nuts and the bolts and the personal growth and development all wrapped up in one that you need to be able to go make something happen in your life and your business this week. Love you guys.